guys, it's Jo. Welcome back to my channel. I got a request to show a tutorial on how to make a writing board, and I was pretty excited because I have been struggling with trying to find the right tutorial to start with to kind of get a momentum going. So this one seemed simple for me in that there's not a lot of steps. So it's a beginner tutorial, and I think everybody should be very successful. But the request was to make a writing board. What is a writing board? A writing board is basically a smooth, flat surface that can be moved throughout your junk journal, typically hard, so that when you are let me grab a journal and show you real quick here. Sorry about that. Okay, so basically, if you wanted to write in your journal, you would just place it underneath the page that you're going to write on. And then you have a hard surface to write on, as opposed to poking through pages or having your writing look strange because there's embellishments or whatever on the following page. But it's something that can move throughout your journal, and most of the time color coordinate to your journal. So today I'm going to show you how to make one. So this is one of my many that I have. I typically make them in mass, and that way when I finish with a journal, I have plenty to choose from and I can just tuck one in and go. Plus they're kind of fun to make. So the supplies that we are going to use. We are going to use, of course, glue and scissors, probably a cutting board, pencil. I'll probably ink up a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so the main thing with the writing board is the base, and what I use is the front and the back of paper pads that I get. They've got like a chipboard to them, and when you add the paper to it, it just firms it up even more. So I have two pieces here, and just because I didn't know how many we would make. But I mean, you can use anything that you want. You can use a thicker chipboard, you can use a cereal box, you can use, I mean, as long as it has some firmness to it. You don't want to use like a copy paper. Even a cardstock can be a little too flimsy. You want something that has a little more sturdiness to it. So first things first, we're going to decide. Oh, you also need the paper that you're going to cover it with, which I chose just a couple images I have. I got some digitals from Tracy Fox here, and I'm going to do something journal-wise soon with those. So I thought I'd go ahead and make that one so it could go in that journal. And then this one, I forgot who made these watercolor images, but they are just stunning. So it's another digital that I printed off Etsy, and we are going to use this one too. And then I back them with the Tim Holtz, the backdrops that are neutral, cool, and warm, I think are what he calls them. And I just grabbed two that looked similar or had the same coloring as the two pieces of paper that I wanted to use. And they're kind of a chipboard themselves, so it'll add even more sturdiness to our writing board. So I'm going to set these to the side, and I'm going to grab my cutting board, which is a filthy mess like everything else in my craft room, so please ignore. And then you want to decide how big you want it. Typically my journals are like 9 by 6, 8.5 by 6. I usually always have them 8.5 tall because that way I don't have to trim the papers down on that end. but go with whatever your typical journal size is, or I mean, you can even make them when you're making a journal so you can customize them to the size if you do a lot of different sizes. So since I typically do an 8.5 by 6, I'm going to make, I think, let me check and see what size this one is. This one is 8.5 by 6. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do another 8.5 by 6. So I'm just going to use my cutting board as my measuring guide. And I don't even think you can see that. Of course you can't. Whoop. Well, we'll go up here because you can see it at the top. So 8.5. And I always save these. There's always so much you can use those scraps for, so I just toss them to the side. And then this is actually going to give us 2 writing boards because it's 6 inches and this is a 12 by 12 sheet. So I'm going to put this other one to the side. And we are going to get this to 6 inches. Oh, that's right. I was doing it up here. 6 inches and cut. And so now you have 2 8.5 by 6 writing boards. So I'm going to put my cutting board away for the moment. And then I like to cover with the paper because typically I use copy paper. And copy paper sometimes can be slightly translucent. So I don't want these images to be seen through. So usually, most of the time I do my images on this side and then save this side for the cardstock that I cover it with, the Tim Holtz backdrop. Well, yeah, backdrop. So we are going to start with this one. And I'm going to kind of look at it and see what all I want to be on it so I know where to place it. And I think I'm just about going to go dead center on that. But yeah, you can already see how it's see-through. I don't know if you can see it, but I can definitely see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue, which I try to use different glues, but I am addicted to Fabri-Tac. It can be stringy, yes, but it holds, it doesn't warp, it's just awesome. Now, sometimes in my crafting, if I'm not doing anything with vellum or anything that I'm worried about having a wet look, I use Tombow Mono Liquid Aqua. And I really do like this. It has a really good hold. It dries clear. It's good glue. It's just not Fabri-Tac. Fabri-Tac's like the super glue of craft glues. So I'm just going to put some glue down on my writing board, and I just do a line all the way around the edges, and then just kind of squiggle it in. Make sure I get it good and covered. Probably don't need as much glue as I use. I'm a little bit of a overkill on it, I think. And I'm gonna set this about where I think it should go and flip it over to make sure that I am straight, which I think I am. And then I'm gonna use my bone folder and just really smooth it out. Okay, so on this paper is a little smaller than 8 by 10. It had the white border around it, so it's not the typical size, but I am going to trim this down just a little bit just so I'm not folding as much over. We'll save that for something else. Okay, so once you are here and you have your chipboard glued down and smoothed out, I come around and I cut off the corners. And you want to leave a little bit of space above here. You don't want it to be completely flush with the point or the corner, because then it has a tendency to show through. And I mean, if that doesn't bother you, then you just cut it wherever. But it bothers me. I think I have, well, I know I have some OCD. So I'm just going to cut off these corners. Okay, now that my corners are cut off, then I'm going to fold, just kind of use this as a guide and fold over and kind of push down there and do that for each side. Okay, keep moving things today, I don't know. Okay, so when you get to this point, you can use double-sided tape, you can use glue, whatever adhesive you prefer. I do both. Today I'm just going to use the glue. So I'm just going to come in and pick a side and glue it up, push it down, and then go to the next side and get it all glued up. And I really try to pay attention to the edges so that they're not rolling up on me. And I watch my corners too to make sure that they are flush and that there's none of this showing through. So now we will have something to reinforce this even more when we put the background on it. And you don't have to use a plain background like I do. You can put another image on the other side. You can, I mean, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. So now I decided on this color to go as the background for this one. I just thought it went well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this the way that I measure, which is I kind of eyeball it and I mark it with a pencil. So we're going to mark it there because you want a border, and I'm going to mark it. I don't even know if that was up there high enough. Sorry. So there and there. All right. So then I'm going to bring out my cutting board again, because this girl cannot cut in a straight line ever. I have tried. I don't know how some women do it. It blows my mind, but I am incapable. So we are going to cut at that mark and this mark. And all right. So I still have a little pencil showing here, and I'm just going to erase that off and check the other side, and there's a little bit there too. Okay. So now I just have to adhere this to the back. So I'm going to put the glue on the background since I'm setting it down here and it's a smaller area than this. So same thing, I'm going to pay attention to my edges and put some glue all the way around the perimeter. And then just fill it in. Whoop. And I'm going to toss it, apparently. Okay. All right, and then you want to take it and place it where you think you want it. And then make sure you've got it even. And then just burnish it down. All right. So there's the first writing board. Just a nice hard surface, and I will actually ink this up a little bit. I am using Gathered Twigs today. I like the darker brown inks. I just think it gives it more of a vintage feel to it. All right. So, one writing board. All right, now we are going to do one more. So I'm going to set this one to the side and grab this and try to get the glue off my finger. Okay, so we're going to go with this image. Now this image is a little different because, no, it's not. I thought I wanted it centered more, but that's not going to work. It's going to have to be like this. Okay, so once again, I'm going to glue the board around the edges. And you can use any glue. I will tell you that when I've used like the Tombow Mono glue and stuff like that, or glue stick, it doesn't seem to stay as well. And sometimes the wetter glues like the Tombow Mono will warp and the board will have a natural curve to it, and that's not what I want. So then we are going to set this down, flip it over, and there is a little bit of forgiveness time with this glue. Actually, I think I want that up. Well, no, we'll just do that. I'm not going to mess with it. Okay, so I'm going to burnish this down. And then I have a little extra on this side and the top. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim it down on both sides. And make sure that you don't cut it too close, because you want to be able to fold it over comfortably without, that way when you put your background on there, that you're not seeing any of this. So here we are. Now once again, I'm going to cut off those corners, watching to make sure I don't get too close to that corner. And done. Okay, so get rid of those. And now we are going to fold and press. And you just want to try to get as close as you can to that edge. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then we are going to open them up a little bit and glue them down. That's another thing I like about this Fabri-Tac, is you don't have to sit and hold it forever to make sure that it adheres. It sticks pretty quick. So I hope everybody had a good Monday. I actually had a pretty decent day today. I didn't think I was going to. I am a nurse in my main job. I wish this was my full-time job, but my day job is I am a nurse. And today, typically I'm a QA nurse, a quality assurance nurse. I also do wound care and jack of all trades. I do pretty much whatever's needed. And but I'm usually in the office. And today I ended up having to work the floor due to some call-ins, and you know, I miss that nursing. It's really nice. It's really nice to get back in touch with your patients and to do that hands-on care. So I had a pretty good day today. So I am marking again the spots on the board where I'm going to cut, which I don't know if that was, bring it back up here so I can show you again. So I marked here and down here, and then I'm going to pull up my cutting board again and line up my mark. And trim this off. All right. Okay, and I'm going to double check to make sure that it is, yep, exactly the size I want. So I'm going to go around the edges here to glue this down. If I can stay on the board. All right, filling it in. As you can see, I like to make sure things stick for all time. So I probably use more glue than I should, but everything seems to be staying stuck that I have made. So that is a good thing. All right, making sure my edges are even. All right, and then I'm gonna burnish this down. Okay. Got a little glue on the outside here, but I do have a handy dandy glue eraser. The only thing I noticed about this is if you do it when the glue is too wet, it'll mess with your image. It'll start taking it off. I don't know why. Probably because it's wet. Okay. All right. And there's this one. And then I'm going to ink this one up as well. I just think it gives it a nice look, just more finished. And then once this is done, I put it in the stack with the rest of them and wait for a journal that sings to me that it belongs with this one. But so this one and this one are the ones that we made. And so that's pretty much it. That's how you do it. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave me a comment in the down below. I will be happy to answer your questions or show you a different way. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and checking out my tutorial, and I hope to talk to you again or see you again soon. Bye.